My name is Jeffrey Hangst. I'm from the University of Aarhus in Denmark. I'm the spokesperson for the alpha experiments at the antiproton decelerator here at CERN. A good way to think of antimatter is as sort of a mirror image of normal matter. For some reason, the universe is made of matter. We don't know why that is, because you could, in principle, make a universe out of antimatter. Antimatter is identical to matter, but has opposite properties. For example, the fundamental particles that make up atoms, protons and neutrons and electrons, they have antimatter equivalents. What alpha does is to work with the simplest anti-atom, anti-hydrogen. Okay, hydrogen is number 1 on the periodic table. Anti-hydrogen is the antimatter equivalent of that. We've been making that anti-atom here at CERN in the antiproton decelerator since 2002. Producing it by mixing antiprotons and positrons to make a neutral anti-atom. What's new about alpha is that now we've managed to hold on to those anti-atoms. Normally, when we made them in our previous experiment called Athena, the antimatter would escape and annihilate. Matter and antimatter, when they meet, they make energy, they annihilate. What this experiment does now, and the breakthrough here, is to hold on to the antimatter.
What interesting bit of info from the CERN website. This page titled Extra Dimensions, Gravitons, and Tiny Black Holes. They say it in black and white that they'd like to make many black holes to study them. Should you be worried? Well, it's one thing to speculate that they might accidentally make a black hole during an experiment, and it's another thing to read it in black and white in their mission statement as an actual goal. So should you be worried? Have you seen the statue on their campus? That's the Indian version of the Grim Reaper. They put a Grim Reaper on their property and they're telling the world, check it out. So should you be worried? Yes, you should be worried. Anyone who's noticed that their logo looks like the Google Chrome logo has noticed that there's a connection to be made there, like the one-eyed symbolism that we're seeing everywhere, including the dollar bill. These aren't coincidences. These are logos, they're trademarks, they're on the money because they want you to know. Moving on, CERN is an antimatter production facility. Breaking news. They make anti-hydrogen and anti-helium among other things. Scientists there call it exotic matter. Now, exotic matter doesn't normally exist in our reality, but scientists say it's exactly the same as standard matter, except that the charges of the subatomic particles are reversed, like a mirror image. So to cover some basics here, the most basic element they teach you in chemistry class is called hydrogen. It's a standard isotope composed of 1 proton and 1 electron. The antimatter equivalent of hydrogen is called antihydrogen. Both hydrogen and antihydrogen have the same net charge of neutral. Standard hydrogen consists of 1 positive proton plus 1 negative electron, so they cancel each other out to become neutral. With antihydrogen, we have a negative proton plus a positive electron, and that comes out to be neutral as well. Again, an easy way to think about this here is like a mirror image. Then they mix the 2 subatomic antimatter components together in the form of a gas in a specially made isolation chamber to make synthetic yet functional antihydrogen atoms. Now, regardless if the antimatter is real or synthetic, it proves an important point. Opposite realities are completely within the realm of what's possible. An opposite reality where matter at its most basic level spins or is charged in an opposite direction from our own reality. Now that we've covered the physics of antimatter, let's jump into the metaphysics of other realities. This illustration here shows a plane with 2 different timelines heading in opposite directions. On one side of this plane is our reality, consisting of standard matter. On the flip side of this plane, we have a different reality made up of antimatter. That's the theory of parallel dimensions. Now, since we can't really test this out with physics, the next thing we can try is empirical metaphysics. Why metaphysics? Well, again, physics isn't going to let us see the other side, the other reality. That the mirror is a symbolic representation of another world. Which world is the question we're trying to answer? Coming back to this illustration, which side of this plane are we on? The top side, the down side, the positive side, the negative side? Are we in the better world or the dark world? That is the trouble. If the mirror can project to some other reality. The destination is still a question. Yet it's an attractive field of study. Your otherworld opposite may or may not be at that same spot, and there's no telling what's on the other side. But we do know what happens when matter meets antimatter, annihilation. And perhaps that's their dirty little secret. Evildoers are looking to implode the multiverse, because evil is as evil does. These ideas parallel the series Fringe to a certain extent, but that series paralleled these ideas. So let's review. CERN makes antimatter. They're looking to make black holes and portals. We learned about the possibilities of other dimensions, and we learned that mirrors may serve another function. If anyone out there has seen anything out of sync in a mirror or has credible information they'd like to share on these subjects, be sure to post that in the comments. If you're listening to this, you are the resistance.